What's going on, everyone? Welcome on in for a trade recap Friday, October 13th. Friday the 13th. We got a trade recap today, but I also want to kind of go back to the past couple of days. So today we made $95. The reason why I didn't make trade recaps the past 2 days, I spent the past 2 days really kind of tinkering around and making sure, trying a couple of different things, making sure I could get in and get out, and then looking at figuring out how I want to do it, what's the best way to go about it. So pretty much figured it out to the standards that I want to trade and how I want to trade. So I think I got the hang of it, essentially. But for now, we have this trade to review. There were a couple other things. If I actually get out of this, you will see that we have not been just green. If you recall, I had last video on Tuesday. We made 99. We technically lost 14 Wednesday and 65 Thursday. There's a lot of trades in there. Not really that many trades. There was a lot of figuring out partial take profits, which ended up opening new positions, and then I had to close those. And so it like tripled the amount of trades that I had necessarily on that day. And to be honest, there hasn't been a lot that I've liked. So that's the deal there. Those essentially wipe out the test trades we had on the Tuesday. And now we're kind of back into the game. One trade today, as we can see right here. And we're going to cover this one. There were a couple. There's actually one on oil that I want to mention, which I'll cover that oil trade here in a second and talk about the looks I had on it. And it was a loser, but technically like a break even. So we'll see. We'll cover that trade. I'll cover over the chart there in a second. But yeah, so today was AMD, so you can kind of see how nice and clean this is going to be because now we're just trading shares. So it was an AMD short, no options played here, just shares. Just shares. How about that? But the reason why the reason why we're liking the prop firm is because now we have leverage. We can take a $10,000 trade. You know, who cares? You know what I mean? And I'm not... I don't have to have the buying power. I don't have to have the cash set aside in an account. I can use someone else's money to trade this. Is essentially the thought process here. But our profit target. So we can see that we entered this trade at around, the adjusted cost was 1064. So this is at 106.40. And then I had my profit target down here and then my stop loss here. So you can kind of see what the risk reward was. It's tough to calculate the R multiple and stuff I was saying on options. It's even going to be tough here because when it comes to R multiple, as some people, maybe you care, maybe you don't. I don't really want to get caught up in that too much. I like to look bigger picture on the day after a trade, you know, because each individual trade is going to have different R multiples and stuff. It's tough because when I enter it, if I don't have a stop loss on, if I don't have a take profit on, and I adjust those things, and as the trade progresses, those things could change, and so it turns that on its head a bit. So personally, I like to leave it alone. Now, this was honestly kind of almost fits the not to system, and the way I want to frame that is that yes, we made $95. Yes, it was AMD. Yes, it seems like a straightforward trade, and yes, the chart set up on the 5-minute chart was very valid, and it actually was very good. The problem is that we just didn't have, we're not getting consistency. Still, you know, you think that, oh, maybe, you know, we'll start getting October, and still not really getting it. We're not getting a move up. We're not really getting a move down. I mean, we've kind of been drifting higher, but it's not super clean. So here's a look at IWM. You can see the weakness there. I want to pull up SPY's chart first, then I'll get to AMD to kind of frame this. The reason why I'm not loving this is because we've been trending up past, like, you know, couple of days since, I guess, Monday. But the past 2 days, we're kind of pulling back. So you're not playing the upside. You want to play downside? Well, yeah, sure, I guess. But we're not really near these lows for breakdowns, for bigger breakdowns. And so you're kind of just going off of individual strength and weakness. And on the day, AMD happens to be one of the weakest stocks. Actually, it's the weakest stock on my list up here as of right now, down 2.6%. Yep, it is the weakest stock in the list. And so that's why I traded it. Big upper wick. I actually played it long yesterday for like a break-even play and trial play, which I ended up having to take. I took three entries on it, somewhat accidentally. And then when I went to sell them, I tried to sell it a certain way, which then opened up 3 shorts. So it had 6 trades open at the same time. And I'm like, it makes no sense. But again, I'm working through the kinks. I figured it out. It's not a big deal. Just about using the platform and stuff. So This looked really good for a breakout, right? Bigger picture breakout, double top high here, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday breaking it. And then guess what? Massive upper wick. Came back down. We start breaking below the higher lows. We're breaking trend, right, on the daily chart. So if there was a short, like, you know, I'm looking, okay, this is a logical short, right? This one makes sense. I can make the argument, but I also have to say I don't love it because, right, we're not really near the lows. Like, we are just rolling over, and there's no guarantees that we are downtrending just yet necessarily. So I knew the risk going into it was that. So could have just honestly not even traded today. But I played it pretty light, I would say. The sizing's going to go up a bit, but I played it pretty light. Played the breakdown right here. So you had this push to lows. I didn't really like these candles, or didn't play that, didn't really fit the style. But this breakdown very much looked good, and also near these lows. I'm like, hey, we break this low right here. Good chance we're going to low a day. We did, and I took profits into this move down. Actually, I think I took profits like down into here. Looking back, I think I may have wanted to scale. I didn't scale. I probably should have, but we'll work those kinks out, I guess, as time goes on. The stop loss, here's the trade though. Entry was on the breakdown here. Stop loss is over this wick high, which I then moved as we started moving in our direction. I then moved it to the breaking candle high, which is technically how it's supposed to go. So that risk reward's insane. But even if it's just from this high, on the first push down, you got about a 0.9, and it totaled around a 1.8. If you snipe bottom, I did not, but I got a little bit over a 1-to-1 risk reward, and that's fine for me as of right now. So that was the trade on AMD. Going back to that oil trade, I want to pull this up. Here is crude oil. Now, this was kind of a swing. If I were to go back in here, you'll notice, if you go back in through here, you'll see that in here, we had some WTIs that were not closed. I did make money on one of them, I'm pretty sure. We had WTI, let's see. Yeah, here are the two WTIs. Actually, I did close one of them on that Wednesday. So we technically lost 100 on this one and lost 22. The other contract that I had was a good gain, if I want to say over 100, something along those lines. So that was the deal with the WTI. Those kind of, it comes out to a small loss, not huge, but still technically a loss. Break even, give or take, based on what I'm going to show you. So I'm looking at the 1 hour chart of it. Pretty straightforward, right? You have this big gap up. You're holding this line right here. And this gap, you gapped up over the weekend into Monday. Once we broke down below that gap, I played a 1 hour short, just more of a swing trade approach, because this is going to trade pretty much constantly. It's not going to stop at 4 p.m. and then open up the next day. So I don't have to worry. Over the weekend, I wouldn't hold over the weekend because you never know. You can get these gap ups and stuff, but it's going to trade constantly all week. So I felt fine with the swing. And then the stop loss is over these breaking candle highs, which is right here. And it worked. Like I got the target. The target ultimately was the gap fill. And so I got it. One of the contracts sold. The other ones were take profits like down in a little bit further. Those did not hit, obviously. I moved my stop losses once the first one filled. I moved my stop loss to just about break even, which then filled here overnight. No big deal. It is what it is. But that's the update for that. Ends up being pretty much a break even trade after all the contracts are accounted for. But going forward, I'm going to be likely entering the full size and then just scaling out from there instead of having multiple trades open with the same thing. I might do it a couple times, or it might be an accident if I don't size in properly, but generally speaking, I think I've ironed that out. So that's the deal. That's the stats. So on the month, the stats, this is now taking into account like last week in a couple of days, Webull numbers. And now this past week, since Tuesday, we're taking into account the prop firm, which I'll pull up the prop firm here. Started at 50K and I'll refresh the page. It is now sitting at $50,114.91. So we're up a bit. And here are our levels. We have a lot of little trades just kind of added up over time. A lot of them break evens, a lot of them tests, as I said, but we're kind of dialed in now. And so we're kind of ready to go. We just can't meet these drawdown limits, which I'm not really in danger of. If I lose more than $3,000 in a day, then I'm doing something absolutely absurd. Based on my trading strategy, that should not happen anytime soon. It's more going to be a slow grind, either down or up, to hit those targets over time. So we're 3% of the way there to the target. We shall see. And I'll keep you guys updated as time goes on. That is today's trade recap, making $95 on AMD. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Links to all this stuff down below. Peace.